The bright studio lights of the Kelly Clarkson show washed over the stage as cameras glided into position, producers whispered instructions through headsets, and the live audience buzzed with excitement. Today's guest was a legend, Shania Twain, the queen of country pop, the woman whose voice had shaped an entire era. Fans filled the seats wearing cowboy hats, glitter jackets, and carrying signs that read, "We love you, Shania." Kelly Clarkson, warm and energetic as always, waited behind the wings, reviewing her cue cards. She had interviewed Shania several times before, but today's conversation was supposed to be special. The show was doing a Women of Power theme week, and Shania was invited to talk about her new album, an upcoming documentary, and her journey of resilience. Everything should have gone smoothly. But tension sometimes finds its way into even the brightest rooms. As the band finished playing Shania's iconic hit, "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," Kelly stepped on stage to roaring applause. "Please welcome the incredible, the iconic, my personal inspiration, Shania Twain," Kelly announced. Shania walked out smiling, waving at the crowd, her long hair shimmering under the lights. She settled into the couch opposite Kelly. "You look amazing," Kelly said. Shania laughed softly. "Well, thank you. Always good to be here." The audience cheered again. Cameras panned in. The show began. At first, everything was as light and cheerful as expected. They talked about Shania's horses, her time living in Switzerland, and her upcoming concert tour. Kelly's questions were friendly, easy to answer. Shania relaxed, leaning back and laughing. But then Kelly glanced down at her cue cards and hesitated, just for a moment. The producers had insisted she ask this next question, even though Kelly herself wasn't comfortable with it. "So, Shania," Kelly began carefully, "you've opened up in your documentary about going through betrayal in your past marriage, and some people online are comparing that situation to what's happening with a certain pop star couple now." She winced slightly, hoping Shania wouldn't take it the wrong way. "How do you feel about those comparisons?" The room shifted. Shania's smile froze. Her fingers tightened around the delicate bracelet on her wrist. She looked straight at Kelly, the warmth in her eyes fading into something sharper. "I'm sorry," she said slowly, "but I didn't come here to have my personal trauma used as a headline for someone else's drama." Kelly blinked, surprised. "Oh, I didn't mean." Shania raised one hand slightly, stopping her. "I've shared what I've shared in my documentary because I wanted to help people understand healing, not because I want to relive the worst moments of my life for entertainment." The audience murmured nervously. Kelly swallowed. "Totally fair. I understand. I really didn't mean to push." "But you did," Shania replied gently but firmly. Her voice carried the tone that only a seasoned, confident woman could command. "I appreciate you, Kelly. But this question feels disrespectful." Producers behind the cameras looked at each other in panic. One whispered urgently into Kelly's earpiece, "Move on. Move on." Kelly nodded. "Of course, let's talk about your new single instead." But Shania wasn't done. She wasn't angry, she simply looked tired. Like she'd been asked this same question too many times, in too many interviews, by people who wanted pain more than truth. "Kelly," she said softly, "I've come to your show many times because you're kind, you're real. But I can't keep letting my past be turned into clickbait. It's exhausting." Kelly opened her mouth, closed it, then sighed. "You're right. And I'm really sorry. I should have pushed back on my producers." The audience clapped in support, but the tension didn't ease. Shania looked around the studio, the bright lights, the hovering cameras, the expectant silence. I need a moment," she whispered. Then, without raising her voice or making a dramatic gesture, Shania Twain, global superstar, beloved icon, stood up from the couch. The entire studio gasped. Kelly rose halfway from her seat. "Shania, wait." Shania held up a hand again, her expression polite but final. "I love you, Kelly. But I won't sit here and let my story be turned into someone else's headline. I hope you understand." The band fell completely silent. Even the cameras stopped moving for a moment. Shania walked off stage with quiet dignity, leaving Kelly standing alone, stunned, under the bright studio lights. The audience whispered, unsure whether this was part of the show or a real, raw moment unfolding before their eyes. Kelly paced slightly, then looked into the nearest camera with a pained expression. "Well, we'll be right back," she said, forcing a small smile. The screen faded to commercial. Backstage, however, the real drama was only just beginning. The moment Shania disappeared behind the curtain, the studio erupted into controlled chaos. Producers rushed forward with headsets tilted, clutching clipboards as if the pages could steady the situation. Stagehands froze mid-step, unsure whether to follow her or stay put. Kelly Clarkson stood silently on stage, trying to absorb what had just happened. Her heart thudded painfully. She never wanted to upset a guest, especially someone she admired as deeply as Shania. She inhaled slowly, rubbed her forehead, and walked off stage as the commercial break swallowed the awkward moment. Backstage, Shania had moved into a quiet corner near the dressing rooms, away from the noise, away from cameras. She leaned against the wall, arms folded tightly across her chest. Not angry, just disappointed, drained. Her longtime manager, Marla, hurried to her side. "Shania, are you okay? Do you want to leave? They're panicking in the control room." Shania shook her head. "I don't want drama. I just needed space." Her eyes softened. "Kelly didn't mean harm, I know that. But the question hit wrong. It always hits wrong." Marla nodded sympathetically. "You've been honest enough with the world already." Shania sighed. "Exactly." Meanwhile, Kelly entered the hallway from the opposite direction, her expression tense but determined. When she spotted Shania, she paused for a moment, gathering courage, then approached quietly. "Shania." Kelly's voice was soft, as if afraid of being too loud. "Can we talk for a second?" Shania looked up. Their eyes met, not with hostility, but with unspoken understanding. Kelly offered a small, apologetic smile. "I'm really sorry. That question wasn't mine." I pushed back, but the producers insisted because they thought it would drive conversation. She made air quotes begrudgingly. "It wasn't fair to you." Shania exhaled slowly. "I know you weren't trying to hurt me." Kelly stepped closer. "I respect you too much to make your pain into gossip. I should have stood my ground more." Her voice cracked slightly. "You were right to walk off. I just want you to know I didn't take it personally." Shania's shoulders relaxed. She reached out, placing a gentle hand on Kelly's arm. "Thank you for saying that. And I'm sorry I walked out mid-show, but I felt exposed. Like the moment wasn't mine anymore." Kelly nodded. "No apology needed. And honestly, maybe this is a lesson for the whole team. Guests deserve emotional boundaries." Behind them, the producers watched anxiously, not daring to interrupt. The head producer, Daniel, finally stepped forward. "Ladies," he said cautiously, "the show is still live. We can cancel the rest of the segment, or, if you want, we can reset and continue on your terms. No personal questions. Strictly music, career, joy, whatever you're comfortable with." Shania looked at Kelly. Kelly looked at Shania. Shania let out a short laugh. "Well, I didn't fly all the way here just to leave after 10 minutes. Kelly's eyes widened in surprise. "You're willing to go back on?" "On my terms," Shania said. "No drama, no digging into my past for views." Daniel nodded vigorously. "Absolutely. Completely your call." Kelly smiled, relief flooding her features. "Thank you. Truly." Shania shrugged with a playful smirk. "Besides, wouldn't be my first time walking off a stage. Might as well keep things interesting." They both laughed, the tension finally breaking. When the commercial break ended, the audience murmured nervously, unsure of what was happening. Some whispered rumors. Did she leave for good? Is Kelly okay? Is this scripted? The music swelled. Kelly stepped back on stage alone, her demeanor confident but sincere. "Welcome back," she began. "We had a moment behind the scenes, and I want to say, sometimes emotions are real, sometimes conversations go places we don't expect. And that's okay. That's being human." She smiled softly. "I'm honored that Shania Twain decided to return and continue this conversation in a way that feels right for her." The audience gasped in surprise and then erupted into cheers when Shania walked back onto the stage, smiling and waving. This time, Kelly didn't introduce her as a superstar. She introduced her as a friend. Once seated again, Kelly said, "So, Shania, let's talk music, joy, and the amazing things you're creating." Shania beamed. "Now that's what I'm here for." Applause filled the studio. They talked about her new single, her creative process, the wild story of how she wrote one of her most iconic songs in a bathroom stall, and the hilarious wardrobe malfunction she had during a concert in Toronto. Shania even sang a short acoustic chorus live, prompting the crowd to rise to their feet. The energy shifted from tension to celebration. By the time the interview ended, the emotional hiccup felt less like a scandal and more like an authentic moment of two strong women standing up for healthy boundaries. As the show wrapped, Kelly turned to the audience with a warm smile. "Let today be a reminder," she said, "that even the most powerful women still deserve gentleness. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do, is walk away until you feel respected." The crowd roared with applause. Shania squeezed Kelly's hand. "Thank you for understanding." Kelly grinned. "Thank you for coming back." And as the cameras faded out, the two women shared a quiet laugh, no longer host and guest, but equals who had navigated a difficult moment with honesty, courage, and grace.